Welcome to our weekly podcast, Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We are designed for entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. We also care very heavily around the real estate industry as a whole, bringing you hot topics and up-to-date content with a lot of amazing special guest speakers along the way. So sit back, buckle your seatbelt, and get ready for the best hour of your day. Welcome to episode 31, Real Talk with Chris and Ross. Super excited. Welcome. How you doing, Ross, my co-host of the co-hostess?
Hey, man, we're having a great day today. How about you, brother?
I'm living, I'm alive. That's all I guess. I'm living my life 24 hours a day. So every morning I wake up, I'm like, thank you, God, I woke up, because somebody in this planet did not. So I'm grateful for that. I'm just living at 24 hours at a time. So other than that, I'm good. So check me again tomorrow, and I'll give you a different notice. But awesome. We're super excited here. Our Real Talk with Chris and Ross. Again, we hit episode number 31. We had a great guest today. This is a brother from another mother, man. I swear to God, this is interesting. One of the other beautiful things, shameless plug, EXP. Yes, we're part of it, and it's amazing. Not to mention just the model itself, but the people that we've been able to be connected with, right? I mean, just yourself, Ross. But Dylan, man, I just swear, like another life, we were supposed to be brothers. I ultimately just want to start shaving my head because the two of you guys' heads are shaved now, and mine's not. So I'm naturally losing my hair. Based off of age, but either way, I'm just excited to meet Dylan. It's like 5 years ago now, Dylan, right? Has it been 5 years ago? 6 years ago? What are we at now, Dylan? It's been about 5 years.
It was like 4, man. Like
4 years ago?
2019. Yep, August of 2019. Life-changing experience for me.
Yeah, totally. Wow. So, we've managed to connect with these people, and Dylan is such an amazing individual. I mean, not just all jokes aside. The moment I met him, I just could see an energy and feel an energy about this guy who was just a dreamer. And not like a horrible way, but a dreamer, like a visionary, somebody who just like gets it shit done. But when you hear his story, you kind of tells you it was based off him just kind of being lazy, bro. Like his default was that he was lazy. So he just wanted to get shit figured out so he could actually be more lazy. But ultimately, it's won for him in the long run. I mean, this guy's amazing. He's got systems beyond systems. He's created, he's grown. But we're going to hear his story from his side. Dylan Nonaka from the big island of Hawaii, Kona, Hawaii. Super excited, brother. Thank you for joining us today. All the way across 5,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean, my friend.
Wow.
Yes, thanks for having me, man. And I like the legit intro, man. We're looking good, man.
I love it. I know, right? That was thanks to Ross, and he was amazing. Put that together again. I won't take credit for that one.
I'll send you the Venmo later.
All right. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. So, anyways, awesome. So, Dylan, just again, really grateful again. Seriously grateful to have been part of your life. I think myself being part of your life for the last 4 years, like you said, since 2019, you've made such an impact to our team, Freedom. You have so much value to add, and you're always like this energized person who's always happy. And maybe we're just seeing the good side of you all the time. I don't know. It's like always saying, hey, your wife's cool, but I'm not married to her, kind of thing. Right? It's like, cool, Dylan's awesome, but I don't live with him 24/7. Anyways, just super grateful that you've been a part of our life, and you've just been inspirational and very intentional with helping us grow. So would love to share some of your stories. I know we've done actually I think I've done an interview with you before, kind of checking on you, right?
I was one of the early ones, in the early beginning of the podcast. Yeah. So that was an honor. Yes, I think maybe not like episode 3 or
number
something.
2, like 2 or 3. I think you're definitely like 2 or 3. And just hearing your story and where you're going at, and just would love for this guest that are plugging in now who probably haven't heard that podcast. By the way, it's on our YouTube channel, Team Freedom. You can check all those out. But yeah, Dylan, just give us an idea, kind of like your story, background, where you come from, obviously where you're at, and we can kind of go from there. We'll throw in some Q&As and interject here and there.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll try and keep it short. I mean, the short story is, I was born and raised here on the island. Just you grow up in a bubble on an island. I mean, you're not exposed to a lot of stuff. It's funny. You were playing Metallica in the pre-show, and I didn't even know Metallica existed till I joined the Marines after high school. And Metallica was huge in like the late 90s, right? And like I'm like, what the hell is this? And people were like, you don't know what this is? Like, I mean, I was like an alien or something, right? I've never, because we just don't have like rock music in Hawaii. It's not a thing. We have a lot of country music and stuff, but rock music's not a thing. But so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in life, so I joined the Marines out of high school. Thought that would be a good idea. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but ended up being, like most things in my life so far, stumbling into stuff and just having stuff happen by chance works out pretty good. And it definitely set my life on a course that led to today, obviously. But Taught me about leadership, taught me about life, taught me about perspective. One of the biggest things I learned from that experience. And you talk about me always being happy and positive. I mean, that's pretty legit. I mean, maybe my kids wouldn't always agree with that, but my mantra in life is if you're not getting shot at, you're having a great day. Once you've been shot at, you can never ever have a bad day ever again. And so that was a big takeaway, and you can look at those experiences and they can be traumatic and they can be negative, or you can take away and just grow from them and be positive. And that's what I try and do. And came home, and my mom had gotten into real estate kind of late in life, kind of when I was graduating high school. So I never benefited from the financial benefits of her successful real estate career. But when I came home, I started going to college at the college on the other side of the island that I lived on. Again, didn't really have a plan. I met a girl and she was going there. So I thought that'd be a good idea just to follow her. She ended up becoming my wife and is an amazing part of our business today. But that was a real strategic decision, right? I mean, I wasn't sure what I was going to do after the Marines. I wanted to get out and go to college. And that was how I chose what college to go to, was following a girl. And yeah.
Worked out.
Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But, in college, my mom asked me to go to real estate school with her. She was going to get her broker's license and I could get my salesperson license. It was in the same class basically. And she just had to do a couple extra days. So I did that. Didn't think it was something I wanted to do, but I just wanted to spend time with my mom. And I still was a smart, good boy. So I listened to my mom and got my license. Did it kind of part-time in college. I'd help her out. She'd send me business on the other side of the island when she didn't want to drive over and show. So did a few deals a year. It wasn't something that I was super interested in or passionate about, or some side money. And then after I graduated college, actually before I did, I got a job working for the governor of the state. And that's kind of a long story I won't get into, but that led me kind of into 10 years of working in government and politics here, trying to change the world. And I was very unsuccessful at that. So after 10 years of kind of fighting those battles and living in a very it's a different world. It's not a positive world. It's a very negative world, and on a lot of different levels. And I reevaluated what I was going to do in life in like 2014, 15. And I read the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And there was a section in there that really hit me. And I still, today repeat all the time that the idea that you do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or that American mantra, is really bad advice. It's a really bad thing to teach kids, because in most cases, the things that we love to do in life do not provide us with a lifestyle or an income. Mm-hmm. And so you strive for something, or you spend your life very unhappy because the things that you love to do, that you truly love to do, right? Play basketball or go surfing or spend time with your kids or whatever your hobbies are, don't produce income. And so if you change your mindset and you just focus on doing a thing that provides you to a maximum time and resources to then do the things that you love, you'll become passionate about that thing. And that's kind of how I got back into real estate. I kind of read that book. I was at an army school for like 6 months and I was away from my family, kind of reevaluating life. And I came home and I had this in my head, but I still didn't know what I was going to do in life. And I ate lunch with my mom one day and she asked me if I'd get back into doing real estate. I said, probably not. And then I was literally sitting on the couch that night with my wife, and she asked me the same thing. She's like, "Hey, you ever think about doing real estate again? Because I'd rather you not get a real job, like 9 to 5." Because I up to this point, I never really had a real job. I was always kind of independent contractor, doing stuff where I was very flexible. And I was like, you know what? If my mom said the same thing, like that's not a coincidence. I said, I'll reactivate my license. I'll see where that goes. And so there wasn't like a plan or like, it was kind of like I had nothing else to do. It seemed like a good option. I reactivated my license, and then in June of 2015, I just went back to work. I showed up every day at the office, sat in a cubicle, listened to my mom and my stepdad. She had married the broker at that office, the Coldwell Banker office she was at. So I had this amazing, amazing mentorship where my stepdad had been a broker literally for as long as I had been alive at that point, right? So I mean, he had decades and decades of experience at leading a brokerage, and just spent 3 years immersed in that and just going to work. I mean, I just went to work. And that's a big thing I tell people is I just went to work every day. Like I treated it like a job. I went for 8 hours a day. I got to the office by 8, left at 4 or 5. And even if I had nothing to do, I just studied, I figured stuff out. I learned about technology. I learned about systems. I tried to figure out the best way to do things quickly. So I didn't have to rebuild the wheel. So I did little things like create documents that would help me write a contract so I could do it quickly. So I wouldn't have to ask for advice, and I could just cut and paste language, things like that. And that went well. I mean, we had a little family partnership, team with my mom and my stepdad. And then after like 2 years, we were pretty busy. And my brother was selling soda at Pepsi. Like he was a salesperson at Pepsi. And I mean, he's one of the smartest, caring dudes that I know. And I was like, you should do real estate. Like you should stop driving all over this island, like selling soda. It's not what you're meant to do in life. And after some banging on him, we convinced him to get his license. So he joined us like when I was like 2 years in, and the business continued to grow. And some stuff happened at the brokerage. It got acquired. If that didn't happen, I probably would still be there, unfortunately. But that was a turning point in life where then I had to start looking at other options, and I wasn't feeling good about staying there. And I stumbled upon EXP. I mean, literally, I tell this story to folks all the time that you never know who needs to be called. Like, I was an unrecruitable agent because it was my family that was running the brokerage, right? Like, nobody would call me to recruit me because it just didn't make any sense. Why would I ever leave? And nobody kind of saw what was going on in the background. And my sponsor called me out of the blue as this thing was happening. And I just got my broker's license at the time. I'm looking at maybe opening a brokerage. I was talking to KW because that seemed like a different business model than what was out there traditionally. And I stumbled upon watching EXP videos, looking into KW. Actually, I was doing my due diligence on YouTube via on KW, and I found EXP. And then my sponsor called me kind of out of the blue, and we had a mutual friend. He didn't know me, but we had a mutual friend. He knew I was in real estate, and just gave me the pitch. Like, I'm sure you're happy where you're at, but you want to hear about another opportunity? I said, absolutely. I always hear about opportunities. And literally like 2 weeks later, I joined. I mean, I'm a quick decision maker, right? So it's like I saw it. It made sense to me. I couldn't unsee it. And yeah, I mean, I walked away from like $4 million in escrow. I was like, I don't even care if I lose this money. I see this is like such a big opportunity that I feel like it's worth taking a shot at. It could be hocus pocus. It could be a scam. It could be a pyramid scheme, all the other stuff that you hear about that. But I was like, the culture is what I hoped real estate would be, or there should be more of, that collaboration, that abundance mindset, all the stuff that really drives that you can't really, put, quantify, right? I mean, it's that intangible stuff that being around people like you guys and being connected to just folks with big visions and doing stuff on a huge level that we'll share with you. I was like, man, I wish there was more of that in real estate. And that was always my mindset, was giving back and helping folks, regardless if there was any direct return. And it's been a rocket ship ever since. I mean, that was December of 2018. So really, I started in January of 19, and came over here with my brother came with me a couple of months later. He stayed there to kind of close out whatever business we had at Caldwell. And then he joined me. Like 3 friends came over. We ended the year with 9 agents on our team in 2019. And then it just like doubled every single year afterwards. So at the end of 2020, we had 25. At the end of 2021, we had like 50. And then by the end of 2023 or 2022, we had like almost 100. We're like 89 or something like that, and we're well over 100 now. So it's been a crazy rocket ship ride and evolution over a very short amount of time. And I always tell folks, like, you look at what it looks like now, it's intimidating, it looks crazy, it looks big, but like it happened really fast, and it all started from like where everybody else is at, right? So it's like it's not special, like I'm not an outlier, like it's like anybody could do it if you just leverage the system, and then you shift your mindset. And we could talk about what it takes to build a team like that, because I've learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but yeah, if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Heck yeah. Dylan, I've only known you for going on 2 years now, maybe, and some change, but we've had some talks, here and there. And like a lot of your life now, listening to you now, you remind me a lot of a book that I read called The Go-Giver. Have you ever read that book, The Go-Giver?
I've heard about it. I don't think I've read it. No,
dude, it's such a good book. I actually was trying to pull it up because I forgot the author. It's Bob Berg. But like in that book, it's basically about the guy who's the most successful, but he's just giving the most. He's always trying to give. He's always trying to give. And even in my time with you, man, I remember reaching out, like you said, trying to give to others without expecting anything in return. I remember when we sat down for that hour, call, and you just blew my mind about how a team could be ran, the systems behind, how you can automate everything. And that I can't wait to get into that more. I know you said on that, but I just wanted to also thank you for your service, dude, for our country. That's massive too. And watching your leadership carry out throughout your life, you can tell has definitely made a huge significance to the world. So rock on. And now to hear your story too, man, like it wasn't like, and we hear this all the time. Like for me, I got into real estate because I was selling suits, and I ran into 2 guys that were crushing it. And I'm like, okay, you have so much money to spend on suits, and I can't even afford a suit that I'm selling, and you're selling real estate. And to hear you say like, yeah, man, my mom got into it. She invited me. I said no, but then, my wife mentioned it to me. I mean, you definitely also have an open mind. you know, and hearing your success story, you know, those are all things that Chris and I always talk about. You got to be open-minded. You got to be willing to give. Do you think like that has always been a part of your nature outside of, you know, getting into the business, or is obviously that's just bred in you, right? I mean, you have that characteristic.
Well, the core characteristic that leads to, and I've evaluated this recently because I've been thinking about like what's next, right? And I've always felt like, and this started with my mom. Like I give my mom 100% credit to this. She, every night before my brother and I went to bed, she told us we were the best. Like, with no context, right? I mean, like whatever it was, but like that was like her thing, right? How we ended the day. And so I was raised with this belief that I was the best. I was raised with this, like, you know, the subconscious. Yeah. So, but what that led to was I never had a plan in life, but whatever I was doing at that given moment, I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to prove my mom right? Like to this day, I say this on stage, like I'm like, I still am trying to prove my mom right. And so whether it was like playing baseball on a little league team, or whether when I joined the Marines, I applied this. It sucks being a private in the Marine Corps, right? But I tried to be the best damn private there was. So if I swept the floor and mopped it better than anybody else, then they would make me in charge of the floor being swept, right? And then when that happens, I would move on to the next thing. So I always try to apply just be the absolute best you can be at whatever you're doing, even if you don't like doing it, because that's the only way to move forward and get better, right? And so that's something I struggle with now, is like if you look at where the team is at, I think I was telling Chris, or I was telling somebody the other day, you know, it's like at this point, I'm like, what's next? Because it's like we're number one in the state, right? Like we literally are the best in the state. And it's like, that's not what, like, the money doesn't drive me, the growth doesn't drive me, you know, helping people definitely does, but being the best drives me, right? So it's like, how do you continue to grow and get better? So now it's like the next target is number one in EXP, right? I mean, like that's got to be the next target. And so that's really the core thing, is like just wanting to win at whatever you're doing, however small it is, right? You gotta have that desire to win.
That's big. And hearing you say that you not only are moving your aim and focus to the next thing is totally what's going to drive you. Because I know I've seen it even my own self. I'll hit a benchmark. Oh, I hit the benchmark. I got all the things. I got all the, okay, now let's just enjoy. We'll set up camp here. This is what we wanted. But the fact that you're like, no, dude, all right, we got here. Now we're going there. Is there an end in sight? Do you have like a finish goal?
I don't think so. I mean, because I don't think I don't think at the end of the day you really know. I never knew it could be this big and this successful where it is. And so it's like I almost think you can't fathom what the next step is, or you kind of got to get there, see it, and then just go for it, and then see the next thing. And you know, on this note, huge book recommendation: Tim Grover's book Winning. This is a big one. A big takeaway I got from that is the greatest winners have the shortest memories, right? So you have to apply that to winning and losing. So he coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. I mean, some of the greatest basketball players of all time. And the common denominator, and I just was listening to the other day say that these guys weren't the most physically talented people. They just had this mindset where if you miss a shot, you got to forget about it quickly and focus on the next shot. If you win a championship, you got to focus on it. You got to forget about it quickly and focus on the next championship, right? So it applies to both winning and losing. And that's a big thing, is not dwelling on, not dwelling on the losses, because that holds a lot of people back. Like they lose a listing appointment and it blows up their entire month. They're pissed off about it and they're dwelling on it. Or, they have a big closing and then they chill out for a month and they're not putting their next thing into escrow, right? So it's like on both sides of it, having a short memory is super important. Being grateful is important, but also, not dwelling on the negatives or the positives, and then just moving forward and continuing to fight is super important.
Love that. There's
so many pieces to that, what you're saying, because I think it can be taken so different ways, right? Having a short memory, yes, not to remember the crap that you shouldn't remember, but then some people say, oh my gosh, your memory is horrible. Like, so it's in context. I think that people need to understand as you're listening to this. And every area of your life, Dylan, I'm hearing your story again. I've heard this story of yours probably a couple times, and you keep coming, and I love hearing it, because I didn't know about this part, though, about your mom telling you guys were the best. That's amazing, because, I mean, that's a kind of a personal thing for me. And I was actually just, not to take this, hijack this, but it's just literally this morning I was thinking about that, because I come from a complete polar opposite where
I know your story.
Right? I was thinking this morning, like, I was probably like an adopted child. I feel like maybe to a family that I shouldn't even been in. That's how I felt, right? Because I was like completely rejected and abandoned on every level where I didn't get things like your mom said, Dylan, you're the best. How that integrated into your mind every night, like literally that affirmation, is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because I see you now today working at such a high level. And to answer like Ross's question, what's next? There is never a next. When you have integrated in you that you are the best, And I'm not saying this from an arrogant place or an ego place, but from a place that you're just very confident in who you are and what your capabilities are, right? Your mom instilled that from you since you were a child. And now today, there's never going to be like an end game. I'm just saying right now, because you're always going to be like, I want to be the best. And again, the best father, the best husband, the best boss, the best runner, the best walker, whatever, you want to be the best. So you apply that in every area of your life. So when I look at that, and in that question you asked, Ross, I'm like, what's next? I don't think anybody in your role, in your place, will ever be like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm done. You know what? This is it. We've reached the pinnacle. You're not. I think you're going to go
the champagne bottles. We're sitting right. Yeah.
He'll be in his coffin. Like, they're like, okay, I got to do one more push-up. I got to do one more burpee. Like, something is going to be like, I got to be the best at this. You know, we have this competition right now, the 500 challenge. And Dylan's got, I'm doing first person to introduce. Let's do the nickel dime thing. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, let's do 5 pull-ups. This is the thing, man. Like, again, he wants to be the best, and I love it.
And I applaud it, man.
I know, because
to your point though, Chris, right? Like, it's one thing to have that mindset and then just think it's all about you and you're running to the top. But Dylan, you can see the way you walk and talk and the way you lead is that, yes, although you're striving to be the best, you're more worried about your role in a leadership and carrying those with you than you are achieving, because you recognize that how you bring others with you and is going to matter for the end result. And that I think is what I love watching you from afar, man. Your 5 o'clock wake ups that you do every single day. I mean, dude, you convict me. Okay. Like, when I'm sitting there and I roll up, even though we're in a different time zone, it's like 9 a.m. when you do that or whatever. I'm like, son of a gun, I missed it again. Like, this guy's on every day, no matter what, Monday through Friday. It's encouraging, man. And Chris, we talked about this on a couple other episodes. People are watching. Oh yeah. People are watching, and 100%. You do change people's lives just by what you're doing, whether you know it or not. Yeah.
I just want to say also, though, that the key element to Dylan being an amazing leader is that he's implemented these same things that your mom ultimately has put in you as being like telling you that you're the best. Now you want out of everyone in your team for them to be the best. It's like you're the father of all these people that you want, and you're leading them to become the best. And we all know in business how that works with teams, right? It's the 80-20 rule. There's about 20% of them that actually want to show up and like, okay, I want to be the best. I believe you. And there's other 80 that sit around and frown all day long. And so but I just want to say that also in your leadership skill set, you are ultimately that person of like the poster child of somebody who wants to ultimately make everybody get to the level of being the best. And dude, hats off to you.
And I've found too, one of the, the probably the most important things about leadership is positive leadership is that you got to believe in other people, right? And that's something, especially in the real estate space, you don't have enough of. Is you're more focused on the disappointment that somebody doesn't do something or doesn't perform the right way or doesn't make enough calls or doesn't convert enough deals or whatever, instead of just focusing on that you believe in them and giving them the confidence to do it, right? And so that's one thing that I found especially the last couple of years I've learned recently is like, it's super important to remind people that I believe in you, right? Like, I trust you. You don't have to worry about making me mad and disappointing me because I believe in you. And unfortunately, I had the benefit of having that from my parents, but like a lot of people don't have that growing up. I know your story too, Chris, but it's like, it's one of those things where, man, if you want to inspire people, really, it's not that simple. I mean, it's not that hard. Like, if you can just tell them that you believe in them and point out their positive qualities and show your gratitude for what they're doing, the action that they're taking. I mean, that's a powerful thing. And there's just not enough of that. I think in the real estate culture, right? The leadership culture of real estate, it's like you failed because you didn't make your 50 calls today. That's not the idea, right?
Yeah.
Totally. It's true. I love it. And you're rolling that into the people, which is amazing. You're a product of your environment, which we all are part of. You are rolling that into your leadership skills, which is amazing. Let's jump. So, okay, your journey with Cola Banker, your mom, amazing story that kind of transcended you. Me and your wife, Monica, which I didn't know that too. Like, you kind of followed her. Yes, it turned out positive. So she's amazing, by the way. Love Monica. She is awesome. And now you get your kids. How does that? Let's talk a little bit about your family environment. We got about business a little bit. Let's segue in a little bit into the family environment. Now you have your 2 boys, which are amazing. Dude, I love your sons. They're amazing. Like, one of them's going to be a comedian, I think, one day, or a chef and a comedian. I don't know which one, but he is a crack up. The dude has me rolling all the time. How does that? How do you take in a lot of stuff that you were raised with your mom, and now in your environment with your kids, your family? How's that rolled into that? Are you as obsessed with that as you are in your business? I guess my better question.
So the one addition I've made to the mindset with my kids is it's one thing to instill like that self-confidence that you're the best, but I also focus heavily on you can work, you have to work right? You have to have work ethic. And so you can be the best at anything. You just got to put the work in. And now that they're getting a little bit older, I'm really seeing that materialize, which is something that just, I mean, no greater joy in my life. I mean, one example of that is my older son, who's always been a good, athlete and relatively talented at most things that he does. He never played organized basketball. And in the summer of his 8th grade year, he had some friends that wanted to start playing basketball and try out for the JV team. So he started practicing, and he would go to every single practice. And luckily my wife has the ability to kind of shuttle him around and do this. And I always tell him, have gratitude for your mom, that she's like, will get up at any time during the day and pick you up at any time at night and shuttle you back and forth. You have the opportunity to be great because your mom is facilitating that. But just through sheer hard work and will of going to every practice, we bought a basketball hoop at home and he would go out and practice. Like he made the starting JV team after not having any prior basketball experience, was pretty terrible at shooting, but like outworked everybody, like, played 80% of the game because he would get rebounds and he would steal the ball and he'd create chaos. And just instead of focusing on what he wasn't good at, he focused on what he could do well. And that was hustle. Right. And so that's a big thing that makes me very proud, is that he has that mindset where, I mean, you can do whatever you want. And he's probably on the track of being the starting point guard now on the team, right? I mean, because he's continually, now he's taking private lessons, but he's putting in the work, right? I mean, that's one thing. It sucks to get up he came home at 11 o'clock on Sunday night from doing a tournament over on the east side of the island, and then got up at 6 a.m. to go to 5:30, actually go to 6 o'clock practice on Monday, right? And didn't complain about it, just did it. I mean, lots of kids took the day off because they came home late. But man, if I had that level of work ethic when I was 14 years old, it would be a totally different experience. And then my younger son has a totally different, interest and stuff. And he's the jokester, but he absolutely loves jujitsu. Like that's our thing. We do together 3-4 times a week, and he's totally obsessed with it. But he has zero thought in his mind that anybody can beat him. Like he got beat this weekend at a tournament, but he's 12 years old. He got put into a match with a 15-year-old who was 30 pounds heavier than him. And he went into I'm like, hey buddy, just stay safe. This kid's big. And he's like, no, Dad, I'm gonna go out there and beat him, and like that was his mindset. He didn't, but like that was his mindset going in. And then when he got done, he was like, he survived. He didn't get hurt. I mean, and he felt good. He's disappointed, but to me, that was a win, right? I mean, just going in with the mindset before you even, so many of us give up before we even start, right? And we go in with the mindset like, this is too hard and I can't do it. I don't have enough experience, or I'm too little, or I don't, whatever, all the stupid stuff we tell ourselves. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just super cool. I'm more concerned now that he wants to be a Navy SEAL though, because he's been listening to David Goggins with me in the car on the car rides, back and forth to school and stuff. And he's completely fascinated with like the, David Goggins' mindset of, just being the hardest man on the planet.
Who's going to carry the boat?
yeah. So,
right. Oh man.
But I'd be okay with that. But yeah.
Heck yeah. That's so cool, dude, to hear it, because honestly, your kids are a representation of you too, right? So to see that, and you're sewing into them, and I love you're taking, by the way, your mom is just the OG. That like warmed my heart to hear that. She said to you every day, son, you're the best. I mean, that hit hard. And now you're taking that version, and then now you're kind of taking it a step ahead of what you were taught and amplifying it, and you're seeing the result. That's powerful. I have 3 kids. And my daughter, one day I came home from work because we do our affirmations. She has these 5 affirmations she's got to say to me every day when she wakes up and when she retires the night. One day I come home and I'm like, my wife said, how was your day? And normally I'm really positive, but this day I was like, honey, today was a hard day. Like, this is the type of day that makes you want to quit. My daughter hears the word quit, comes around the corner and goes, Daddy, Rawsons don't quit. You gotta keep going. Dude, and I'm like, I love it. I look back and dude, I'm not even kidding you. I'm man enough to say a tear came down my face because I needed that. I needed to hear my daughter tell me that, because I wasn't going to look at her and say, yeah, I'm going to quit now, and to hear you talk about your children with such, you're such a proud dad. You're a great dad. And to say, hey, I'm now watching my kids teach me things in ways. And that's encouraging, man. That's encouraging.
It is. Because if you look at it, like I love what you said, Dylan. You're like, God, if I wish I had the work ethic, which you probably did have it when you were a kid, you just didn't really realize it. at the level in which they're at today. It's all relative, right? But I think at some point you were definitely that person, because you obviously are that person now. You're the most driven, obsessed person I could say in a very natural state. Because I know some very obsessed people myself. We could talk about the most obsessed person we all know is Brett Gove. I mean, that guy's more obsessed than anybody know, and he has reached levels. Obviously, I'm in this room, right? Like, wow. But you have this very natural, I want to say a healthy obsession. I started the book today. Our book for the month for Team Freedom is Grant Cardone's "Be Obsessed or Be Average," and literally, I'm starting the first chapter today. I'm like, holy crap! It's such a nice, healthy balance to be obsession. It's okay. We want to judge everybody constantly about, oh my God, you work too much. Oh my God, you're workaholic. Oh my God, is there enough? Is money enough? Wait, when's enough? It's not even about that, people. It's everybody's on their own journey. And to be obsessed about something, if you want to reach levels of success in your life, period, end of discussion, you must be obsessed. If you want to be lukewarm and okay, I'm not knocking that anyways. I'm not knocking it. That's what you want, fine. But if you want to reach any level of dreams, aspirations, desires, goals, anything, you got to be obsessed at something, man. And you've proven that. Your obsession, what you're doing, you're obsessed moving your team. You're moving that into this next level. Yes, your next, like Pink in the Brain, you always make jokes, world domination. Dylan's biggest joke is I want world domination, man. And you know what? I'm excited to be out there with you soon. We're going to take over the whole entire islands, man. We're going to world dominate. EXP is going to be out there. We're going to get like a tattoo of EXP all over the islands. But let's talk about that next step for you. Obviously, you've reached certain levels. We talked about your numbers yesterday at the team meeting. I mean, you guys in a declining market right now, have exceeded your percentages in your growth, both volume and in production. Can you share some of those numbers real quick? So you give the podcast people listen out there in this world an idea, set the stage for us where you're at.
So I got notes here, so because I don't know off the top of my head. But in the first 6 months of 22, we did 93 million in production, and as of yesterday, the day before, we were at 130 million. So we far exceeded what our first 6 months were, and that's even more impressive because the first 6 months of 22 were like the last of the banana months, the unicorn year, right? So. And so in a declining market, I just looked, we're down 38% in terms of number of units sold and volume in our market. So the market's down almost 40%, but we're up like over 30%. And then on the unit side, we were at 244 the first 6 months of last year, and we're at 290 as of yesterday. So we'll probably be about 300 by the end of the month. So yeah, it's an amazing my goal was that we just stayed consistent with what we did last year. To me, if we did not see a decline, I said everybody's going to see a massive decline if the market's going to be down 40%. If we can just be on par and stay even what we did last year, that will be a win. And the fact that, and that's how the first quarter was actually. The first quarter was almost exactly what it was in terms of the first quarter of 2022, but the second quarter has really picked up steam. And we've seen the market kind of recover a little bit. The first 3 months were really, really slow and things are picking up a little bit, but we're nowhere near where we were a year ago in terms of, year-to-date numbers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just been, but that it all goes back. We talked about this yesterday. The mindset is my mantra at the end of last year was, we are not participating. We are not participating. We are not participating. Everybody's going to get negative and put their head in the sand and say, woe is me. There's no inventory and there's no buyers. Interest rates are high and all this kind of stuff. Or we're just going to go out there and generate leads, service our clients, work hard for them, show them that's still a good time to buy or sell, and just continue to do business. And that's definitely manifested, across the board. Way bigger than I expected.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, again, you're rolling that energy of your positiveness. So again, let's go back to that, right? Brain power of where you're at, of being the best and not participating, like you said, in what's going on and all the crap. You're really instilling that in your team, and it's working. You guys, your guys' team on every week, and you guys are amazing. You're crushing it out there. Your numbers are proving it. And now moving forward here in the third quarter, I think for us equally as a whole, as a group, I think I mentioned the call the other day too, how I compare our numbers from 2022 for the first quarter versus 2023 in our first quarter. And again, in that declining market, we were only off 4 units, which was ecstatic to me. 4 units as a Team Freedom, as a group collectively. 4 units less in 2023 than we were in 2022. What you said, the unicorn first quarter of 2022 was rocking. So it was hard to compare to that. But to be only 4 units off of what we did in a down market 23, amazing. Our team is crushing it.
Hugely outperforming everybody else.
Hugely outperforming it. And it's inspirational and it's great. And people like yourself and Ross and the Mike Blakes and the Doug and Lona Lugers and Shireen, everybody out there. We have such amazing generals in this group of ours, our community called Team Freedom, that we're growing massively and are excited to see what happens in the future. So moving forward a little more, Ross, you have more questions about some of this stuff and his team?
Oh, honest to God, yeah. I was good. If you want to segue.
No, go for it. No, go for it. Yeah. So yeah, team environment, go for it. I mean, he's talking about some of the stuff because obviously I think you want to talk about some systems and things.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't know where you were going with that. I love that. That's the first time. Normally, dude, I got Chris down to a T that like when his lips close, I know when to go right in. You know?
Good thing I'm not a ventriloquist.
So Dylan, I wrote down, so you started off with 9 team members. Was it 4 years ago, or 9 agents, and then you went past 100 in that amount of time, right? Did I write that correctly?
Yeah, and really it was like 5 of us that came to EXP initially. Okay. There was my brother and then 3 agents that were just kind of looking for something else to do and wasn't sure what they want to do. And they're like, wherever you go, we'll follow you. So they came in blind faith, right? I still very much appreciate those folks that always share my gratitude that like they would have followed me off a cliff, you know.
I love that.
Leadership right there, right? I will follow you to the pits of the earth.
That's right. So like, okay, on that whole ride to go from 9 to 100 people, and honest to God, that's wild, man, because I know guys around here that it takes them sometimes 10, 15 years to get to 100 agents. You know, I don't want to assume, but I am going to assume you probably are just adding a ton of value, but like what was the thing that took you to the next level in order to get to that? Because I know I've built a team, and you know, I loved our call yesterday because when that accountability call, although I didn't speak, I was just writing notes because, you know, for me, I was a guy that, you know, I came in 2017, felt the rush, built the team, got to 7 agents, came to EXP, then got down to 4 agents, was trying to go long. Then what happened last year, the unicorn year, boom, almost half my team went to the wayside into a different industry. And then I was left there like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to build a team? Am I going to go solo? All these things. I kind of felt directionless. I truly did. And now in this year, I'm building that direction. But like, was your focus, and I know you said to be the best, but you obviously have to instill a lot of leverage to get to 100 people. Like, what would you tell that person that's trying to build a team to get to 100 agents that are some great tips and tricks to get that?
So here's I think it goes back to like the discussion about being obsessed, and then definitely the principle of being consistent. So the difficulty, I think, in the beginning, and I definitely faced this, and you have to make a conscious decision, is not choosing between production and team building, right? And we always hear that like, oh, I can't do this because I gotta continue to focus on production. The reality for me was I was doing 30, 40 deals a year myself the first 2.5, 3 years. Like I was funding this operation, right? Like it wasn't like I was like, oh, I mean, I had some crazy source of disposable income and I could just go and build a team. So there was a lot of nights of like, you know, doing your real estate job during the day, but then also at night, I would spend 3 or 4 hours at night building a system or coming up with a resource or doing something that would add value to the team members, in addition to staying consistent on the things that generated leads. And that was the thing in the beginning that I understood was I got to the point where I was generating more leads than I could do a good job following up on. And so I had 2 choices, right? Is keep them all to myself and do as many as I could and let the ones that I couldn't fall by the wayside, or start to give the ones that were excess to other people and then just take a percentage off of those and continue to grow and then focus on the lead generation side of it. So that's a big piece of it, is like you cannot say it's not an either or thing. You have to do both. Like there's no easy way to start a team and grow it without, in the beginning, I mean, there was, you know, the first couple of years, I would spend $100,000 on the office and advertising and paying people and doing all this stuff. And there was not that much team income. But it was definitely not profitable, right? In the beginning, and people kind of want to go in and think I'm going to start a team and then make all this money and I just can kind of sit back and cruise. And that's definitely not the case.
No.
But a big piece of leverage that I can never overlook is, thank God to COVID, because when COVID happened, my wife, who was a school teacher for 16 years at that point, they were making her, you know, the idiotic school system was making her go to her classroom to teach remotely. She couldn't do it from home. So now we had to figure out what to do with our kids. And, you know, the second 6 months of COVID started picking back up and things started getting busy again. And I told her, I said, hey, we can replace your income in a couple of months if you just help me. Like you can just stop teaching, right? And so again, we took a risk, right? We gave up a cushy $80,000 a year income salary job and health benefits and all the things for her to come and stay home. And so she took 6 months off, and bringing that background. She's not a realtor, doesn't intend to ever get her license, but bringing that operational piece and that training piece. And she has a skill set of building out Google Classrooms and websites. And that was kind of like in year 3 where because at this point we're at like 50 agents, and I'm like, this is getting out of control, right? I mean, we gotta do some more stuff. We didn't have a good onboarding system. There was a lot of stuff that we were missing. And so bringing her in and then layering on that level of support that was a skill set I didn't have, but then also having that teacher educational mindset really helped us build out more, stuff that I had created didn't make sense to somebody who was brand new, because I had 5, 6, 7 years of experience and done hundreds of transactions, right? And so bringing that lay person's perspective in really was a big piece of leverage that got us from a 50 to 100, right? Because then that went kind of quickly. I mean, we went from like 50 to 100 in a year, 14 months or whatever. Wow. So, and some of it is driven by the resources, but at the end of the day, it's really driven by the agents having a good experience, right? Because I'm not recruiting those people. That's the craziest thing about all of this is I have 5 or 6 agent interviews a week, and I hardly generate any of them. It's always somebody who interacts with another agent, or their friend who's getting their license, or somebody who they did a deal with that had a positive experience and felt like, wow, you had your stuff together and you only been doing this a year. Like, how'd you do that, right? And so that's how those discussions happen. And that's a big focus is, if the user experience of your teammates is amazing, right? If their experience is amazing, the growth becomes easy and almost automatic. And so that's been the culture from the beginning is it's always been a family-oriented, pay it forward culture, right? It's like my brother and I always gave without anybody expecting anything back. And so those agents in the beginning then gave to the next generation of agents who give to the next generation of agents. And it's just an expected thing. Like if you join our team, if you're in the office working and somebody comes in and have a question, you stop what you're doing and you help them, right? No matter what you're doing, like that's just the culture of the team. And so that's really all of those things have kind of led to the growth. But there's no formula. I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, but that was a big thing, is just having the right people in place. And then also trusting, we had this discussion earlier, is I've had critical moments in the growth where like I really needed somebody. There's one point like 2 years in where I really need a database manager because I was generating all these leads and we're doing all this stuff. And then like I wasn't doing a good job managing that and building out those systems. And I had a girl walk in who just got her license. She's like, I'll do anything you want. I'll work for free. I just want to learn the business. I said, you want to manage database for me? And she's like, sure. Well, I don't even know what that means. And then like 30 days later, she was an expert. And now is like just a crusher Jedi master at KV Core and, critical system. But it was like, I just trusted somebody who walked in off the street that said, okay. So it's a gamble. It could have went badly. I mean, we were at the point where we were doing 300 deals a year, and I needed like an organized transaction management program, and the right agent joined at that time. I did a disc profile on her. She was not cut out to be a realtor. I mean, that wasn't her skill set. She was an SC, and I said, hey, everything about doing transaction management. She had a young daughter. She's like, sure, I'd do that, and now runs a team that's doing managing 500 transactions for us a year. And so those kinds of things where I think we focus too much on like finding the exact right qualified person as opposed to the person that just fits your culture and has the potential to learn and grow with you. And then, being accepting and being forgiving and just trusting the process. So
love that. I love that.
People's a big one. I've been blessed with the right people showing up at the right time. And that's sometimes there's some luck involved too, right? But I always have on my wall over here, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's right. So I love that you recognize too, like when I hear what you say about how your wife was able to bring a fresh perspective, like you were at a level where you knew that this is what you operated in, this is what you need for your everyday life. But your wife was able to step in to give that fresh perspective to the new agent, to actually cultivate them on the road to success. And the fact that you're able to identify, I think that's a really great thing in leadership. Sometimes even myself, I want to control it all and do it all and have my hands on it all, but that's not effective when you're trying to scale something big, right? You need to identify, hey, I'm here, but I know that other people can help cultivate the areas of my business that need to be serviced the right way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest qualities of being a leader is to be able to identify the high caliber people and their what they're good at, right? Mm-hmm. Find out what they're good at and really hone it in and intensifying it and utilize it to its highest level. That's a great leader. Right.
Yeah. And I didn't make that principle up. Like, I got to give credit where credit's due. Like that was a principle that for me, I was blessed with somebody else treating me that way. Right. And there's a couple of examples of that. I mean, definitely in the Marines to begin with, it's a crazy system where you put like 20, 21-year-olds in charge. Like, I went to Iraq in charge of 21 people as a sergeant, 21 years old. And that's just the system, but like, you don't get put into those positions of trust and authority in the normal world, right? So that was like my first experience with leadership. Is like, now you have to perform. Like, you have people's lives on the line. You got to make decisions that are affect 3 Humvees worth of people, and it's life or death situation. So that's a big one. When after college, when I worked for the governor, I mean, they put me in an appointed, directly appointed position by the governor. I was like 25 years old or something. Like, I had no business doing that job. That's a job that 60-year-olds usually were given because they had, it was a patronage job, but somebody saw potential in me and gave me an opportunity. So I always feel like that's a give back opportunity, right? I always tell people I value potential way more than experience. Experience. I love the people that are like, oh, I've been doing real estate for 20 years, and you do like 4 deals a year. So that means, I've been able to do 40 deals in 1 year. So they've got the same amount of experience in 1 year as you did in 10. Like, I mean, that doesn't correlate, right? I mean, that's not something, experience is not something to be proud of if your experience is like subpar.
I know, right? It's like, 40 years in the business, but you do 4 deals a year. That's like,
not impressed.
Not impressed at all. Like, your years means absolutely shit to me.
You also have 40 years working at Home Depot, right? Because you happen to do real estate full time. So,
yeah. Totally.
It's always Home Depot. Why is it always Home Depot? It is always Home Depot.
It's the orange. It's the orange of our.
Orange. Yeah, it's like
I swear every time, like, because I do a lot of home projects and stuff, I'll run into the guys and be like, "What do you do? Real estate? Oh, I'm in real estate too." I'm like,
"No, you're not.
No, you're not. No, you're not."
Part time. Awesome, man. Great story, Dylan. And this is amazing. Again, for those who are listening out there, I mean, obviously, you're taking this from a 0 to like 100 where you're at this point. I'm not saying 0 in a negative way, because you did start the ground zero and you built this. So it wasn't something that was just handed down to you. Like, most people will hear your story like, oh, your mom and your stepfather were a cold maker. That instantly, I'm going to go to like, you just got to inherit that whole setup there and you were good. No, you said scratch all that. You took a jump leap of faith, came to an entire brokerage that honestly, at that point, you had no idea about. Nobody knew idea and whether it was going to work or not. And that leap of faith turned into what it is today. But not to add on to that.
And a lesson I learned from that, I've carried on. This is actually my new theme, right? I just started doing like every couple of days I'm doing an Instagram post about real estate myths that keep you from being successful, right? Because there's all of these mantras out there, these old-fashioned, outdated mantras that new agents are told, or agents that are struggling are told, that are keeping them from being successful. But when I came into the business, yes, I came into an operation. I was blessed to have great mentors, but it was a shit show. I mean, they were like managing files in manila folders. There was no database. There was no transaction management program. It was super, super old fashioned. And I didn't accept that was the way that it had to be. And luckily, that was embraced. And actually, by the time, after I was there for like 18 months, we had completely changed the way the business model was ran. But again, another attribute to the brokers at the time being open to new ideas and not being resistant, and having a culture of change. And so I'm not wed to anything. That's a big principle in my life, is like, if there's, everybody knows, like, if something doesn't make sense, bring it up. That is a very open, honest culture in our team, where the way I do stuff is not necessarily the right way. And if you see a better way, like, let me know quickly, because we're going to shift and we're going to change. And that's another thing, is like, the success that you had in the last 2 years is not necessarily what's going to make you successful in the next 2 years. And so you always got to be flexible and open to change. And that's a big one that I learned, from by example, people showing me.
Yeah. Well, and that's a whole other level of humility. Let's be honest there too, right? Because you're a very humble person at top. So most people at that level are very ego and arrogant driven. And so honestly, it's like my way or the highway, and nothing else makes sense. But I love that you have a level of humility too. It's like crazy that you allow yourself. That's why you're an amazing leader too, brother.
And I want to back on that too, because you are so right, Dylan. How many times, I know I've been at those offices where you come in, you have an idea, and they look at you and say, stop reinventing the wheel. Stop reinventing the wheel. But you're saying, hey, no, I want to hear it. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
It's a great learning course. And then you start to groom people to get them to start thinking too, right? Because you get a room full of thinkers versus a bunch of like sheeps. I hate to use that word sheeps, because they just kind of come in and do their thing, sit down and go do their buyers and sellers. And they get kind of in this zone where they just don't want to think and use their brain. And a lot of talented people end up dying and never really use their full potential, but yet you're dragging it out of them. Come on, everybody. Collectively, as a culture, the community, we're going to help one another. So put our brains together. We're going to think tank this together. So it's an amazing energy over there. That's why you guys are doing so well. And I'm super excited to see what you're going to bring on here in the next 3 to 5 years. Honestly, it's going to be amazing. We're going to have the same conversation in the next 2 or 3 years. Like, oh my God, remember we had that conversation on the podcast where you're at? dude, it's going to be
episode 500.
Right, episode 500. And you're going to have like 500 people in your team, right?
That's
it's
right.
Crazy. But nonetheless, we're super blessed, humbled, and grateful that you're part of our organization, Dylan. I truly am. Like, I'm indebted to you.
I see it all the time. I wouldn't be here without you guys. Like you guys inspire me too every day. And I just did a video. I sent it to Brent yesterday about I'm pitching build. Like I'm pushing them to get the last minute push to forget people to get to build. And I always remind folks that if I didn't go to the Las Vegas leadership event in 2019 that you pushed me to go to, which was uncomfortable, that I didn't necessarily have the finances to go to, that's where it all started. Really, that was like ground zero for me when I saw people like Jay Kinder on stage and Michael Reese and these guys who had these enormous organizations and these enormous businesses. And I was like, nobody even does that in Hawaii. It's not even a thing. And I'm like, these guys aren't that smart. If they could do it, I could do it. Right. And I was like, and having that opportunity and having that exposure is so absolutely critical because you don't know what you're capable of until you see what others are capable of. Right. It's a 4-minute mile principle that for all of human history until 1960, nobody had run a mile in under 4 minutes until Roger Bannister did it. And once he did it, there was like 1,600 people that did the next year because that people now believed it was possible. It's the only thing that changed, right? Our human abilities did not change over the course of 1,000 years, and all it was one person doing it. So you got to surround yourself with people that are doing it at a level that maybe you don't even know exists yet, and that's how you're going to get there.
Come on.
100% perspective, right? Nobody's talent, skills change. It was perspective of looking at something that is now plausible and easy. And we can look at Brent. Brent has paved the way for all of us, right? And showing us that there's potential and ability for all of this to happen. And it takes people like yourself and Ross and all of us that want to rise to that and meet that occasion and be the best at whatever it is we're doing. And we will get there. Ultimately, you're going to get there. So like I would say, hold on to your bootstraps because Dylan, you're going to be the guy like you're going to be Brent. You are going to be Brent. I don't have zero doubt in my mind that you're going to be Brent.
Facts. Yeah, facts.
Like,
I believe that.
There's zero doubt in my mind that you will not be Brent. I mean, just a Hawaiian version of Brent.
I'll work hard to prove you right on that, brother.
Oh, I love it.
I'll work hard to prove you right. Let's go.
Because it's going to help all of us. So I love it.
I would love to have you say I predicted it. So
right. What's the date today? It's 2023, right? What is it? July 29th? Oh, June
28th.
June 28th. My bad.
It's on the record. It's on the record.
On the record, June 28th, 2023. I predicted you will be Brent Go. And you will be. I have zero doubt. But anyways, man, I appreciate you, Dylan, again, tremendously. I can't thank you enough. Ross and always an amazing host here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I love it.
It's been a blast, man.
I love sharing all this out there. To those that are listening, we want to thank all those that are listening to us regularly. We appreciate you and hope this is a value. To those that are brand new to the channel, we hope this is a value too, that you maybe took some ideas that maybe Dylan's implemented, Ross, myself, and are able to integrate it into your life and your business and hopefully aspire to have lots of goals. Again, it's about being obsessed, about being passionate, about being consistent, about just getting to work. Anybody can have what they want to have if they just want to work. Proven story. Dylan proved it today. So again,
before we end, I want to remind everybody, go to my Instagram. There's, regular just mindset stuff that we put on there, real estate advice. But most importantly, if you go to my bio, there's a link. You can book a meeting with me. I will spend 30 minutes with you talking about whatever you want if I can help. And that's the most important thing. We got to continue to give back to the universe because we get paid back tenfold. So take me up on it. Don't feel I hate people say, oh, you're so busy. It's like, I'm not.
I second that. I clicked the link. I booked an appointment, and Dylan showed up. So he's not lying. He really is. He's going to show up. He'll be there. The real Dylan.
That's real Dylan.
Not his assistant. Dylan. Yeah.
Hey, I love that. I love that energy and community that you're building here, and that's why we're so amazing here at Team Freedom. God bless. Love you guys. And until next week, have an amazing week. Go out and crush it, everybody.
Thanks, guys.